was, my background to date has been centered around preparing myself to become the very best, and this is for a financial consultant. So to be the very best financial consultant I can become. So you just kind of insert in whatever you're wanting to be, whether that's customer service representative or whatever your goal is. Okay, what job am I looking for? That's what we're doing. Then you say, let me tell you specifically how I've prepared myself. I'm an undergraduate student, so this person obviously is still in college. I'm an undergraduate student in finance and accounting. My past experience has been in retail and higher education. Both aspects have prepared me well for this career. So, say you were looking at, like Shaniqua was talking about, say you're interviewing for Panera. You could say, I've been working really hard to prepare myself to be the very best in customer service and food service that I can be. I've worked on that by, and then you can list some other jobs that you've worked at and things you did there. How did y'all do looking at y'all's answers? This would not have been my answer probably to this question. If somebody said to describe myself, I would have said, I'm really independent, and listed all those things, you know? And part of that just depends on what you're applying for too. But it's good to know, one rule, especially with interviews, is you always want to kind of throw in there as much as you can about your job experience and how good you would be at the job. So no matter what they ask you, you somehow want to answer with, this is something I've done and how I would be really great at this job, you know? So the second one was, what specific goals, including those related to your occupation, have you established for your life? Do y'all have goals that y'all have?
Yes.
Y'all were like, okay, I know this is my goal, this is what I'm working towards? Good. This one said, I want to be working for an excellent company like yours in a job in which I'm managing information. I plan to contribute my leadership, interpersonal, and technical skills. My long-range career goal is to be the best information systems technician I can for the company I work for. So this guy's kind of a suck-up.
Yeah.
That would be my thought. I'm like, this guy's kind of a suck-up, but he worked it that same way. You know, he said, what's a goal? And you say, my goal is to work for a company like yours. Did y'all notice how he said that? It's, my goal in this is to work for a company like yours and be the best that I can be doing this. You know, and so that immediately says to a boss, okay, he wants this job, and they're wanting to be the best at the job I offer them. Whereas somebody else might have said, you know, I want some babies and some family, and that's not communicating to a boss how you're going to be good at your job, you know? Because true, it's like, okay, if you look at like goals, like if I was going to look at my life goals, I'm like, okay, like, I want to have kids one day, I want to do this, but it's like, that's not the, you would think, you would think,
about a job
you would think,
we don't want to hear
they'll be
about
like,
your personal goals, but we talk about the job.
I'm going to have me a baby, and we're going to do this, yeah. Okay, the next one, how has your college experience prepared you for a business career? So this one could also just be, how has your education prepared you for this? So it might be that you took, even if you just have your GED or you graduate to high school, it's like, okay, what classes in high school did you take that would help with this? You know, if you're going to work at Panera, it's nice that you took a math class and you can probably do some subtraction in your head when somebody gives you change.
But see, what's crazy about it is I went to school for respiratory therapy, and I had my license in cosmetology. So how I ended up in food services, everyone is like, I don't understand that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you have this and this, but you work in food.
Yeah. But you just make it work, you know, you somehow you're like, well, I learned about this, and when I was doing that, it made sense for this. Because even that, it's like, well, we had training in customer service, you know, and it's like that automatically applies no matter what you're doing. So you just start thinking about that. So this one said, I prepared myself to transition into the workforce through real-world experience involving travel abroad, internship, and entrepreneurial opportunities. That means you own your own business.
And look, I swear I put on my own business.
See, there you go. Then he said, while interning with a private organization in Ecuador, this guy's real fancy, I developed a 15-page marketing plan composed in Spanish that recommended more effective ways the company could promote its services. And he goes on and on about how great he is. But if you look at that, it's like, okay, you just start developing, like, even if it's a project you did in high school, like, what's something that you've done in your education that prepared you for where you're at, you know, and what you're trying to do. And what's a great thing there, too, if somebody asks you something like that and you don't have college experience, is you apply real-world experience. So if somebody says, how's your college experience helped you, or what did you major in college, or they ask you something about college, you say, well, actually, you don't be like, well, I didn't go to college, and then leave it there. You know, you say, well, instead of that, these are some of the experiences I have, and you just spin it where you're basically answering a question they didn't ask you, but it is helpful, you know? So you might say, well, instead of taking the business classes in college, what I actually did was I worked my way up in this company, and I did this, and I have the experience doing this, and you start saying that instead. Okay, the next one was, please describe your ideal job. You can just cross out that following graduation part because you're not graduating.
One that I'm the boss of.
There you go. I'm the boss. That is so my job. I'm like, I need to be somebody's boss. It's really helpful. This one said, my ideal job is one that incorporates both my education and practical work skills to the best I can be, namely combining my education in finance with my working knowledge of customer service operations, entrepreneurial abilities, computer skills, and administrative skills. I want to utilize my analytical expertise to help people meet their financial goals. This is exactly why I'm convinced that I would be a very valuable member of your team. So, one great thing is if you use big words like that, that guy's going to be like, well, at least you're smart. Because I didn't even understand half of that. But what you want to do, that's another place where if you're applying for a job, your ideal job is the one you're trying to get right now. Every time, you know, so it doesn't matter if it's even really a job that you want. If you need that job, that is your current ideal job, is one that pays you. So we're going to go with this is my ideal job, you know, and you just start doing that because that's what a boss needs to hear. They want to hear that you want this job, you need this, you're willing to give what it's going to take to do it. Let's see. Let's look at those last two, the 7 and 8. So it says, what specific goals have you established for your career? Have all of y'all said, like, this is something, my goal as far as a career goes, or something I'm wanting to work in? Do all of y'all have a goal for that? Or something you're working towards or thinking about doing? That's a really good thing to get, just because it kind of gives you a direction to go in. So instead of being like, I'm working whatever job pays, it's, I'm going to pick a job that as I move up in that job, I'm getting closer to my goals. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if you're saying, you know, like Shanika was talking about, she's like, I just need to be somebody's boss and I'm okay. Even if that's the extent of your goals, then you need to get a job that moves people up, and not one that you're going to be doing the same thing all the time.
I have a question though. On this one here, it says specific goals have you established. Okay, the fact that I've even went to school for one, that's considered a goal, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really great. But if you're looking at it saying, hey, I went to school for cosmetology and I don't want to do that anymore, you may have to go back to school and take some classes.
Well, I went to school for respiratory therapist. I already had my cosmetology license.
Oh, wow.
And so I have like one more semester left of respiratory therapist. I'm just kind of waiting to see where this court scene goes before I can go back, you know? And then with the cosmetology, it's like, with her, I can't do hair because she won't let me. Every time I try to do someone's hair, she's all over, but I still do hair out of my house, you know. I just don't have my own business, and that was what my goal was, to have my own shop.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be able to have it in Waco because there's so many hair shops in Waco. People have certain people that they're committed to. I would have to move out of town or something to get a business. That's the way I was looking.
Could you work at one of the salons that's in town now?
I've always done it my own, out my own.
But could you?
Yeah, I could.
Okay. And if you did, would you be getting paid more than you would at other jobs?
Yeah, probably so. But I've always made more, like, I'm cheap. Like, you know, like, if they go to the hair shop, like, for instance, some single-ease braids, the hair store will charge them, like, $200, $250. I would charge them $50 to $60. So that's how I was getting a lot of clients.
Yeah.
Because I was really cheap, you know?
But then you start doing so maybe you get a rent at a salon and you've got your own chair, and then you were charging $50, $60, they can come here, but you come here and then you say, well, they have the rules, blah, blah, blah. You can still come to me, but now I'm going to charge $100.
Yeah.
So you're still cheaper than somebody else, but now you're making good money. And that's the thing you got to think of. It's like, okay, all these people are coming to me because I only charge them $50 or $60, but there's a girl with the exact same certification you have who's getting paid $250 to do the same thing you're doing right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just kind of think of it that way, where it is a nice thing, and I'm not saying don't do that for people that are friends and stuff like that, but you also think about that. It's like, they're coming to you because you're cheaper, but some people are going to that girl and paying $250 for it, you know, and just kind of being aware, like, I could be getting that much money for doing this.
Well, that's what I was going to advertise the same thing, because that's what my whole paper is about, cosmetology. Because I've been doing hair since I was 7 years old, and that's what I want to do. I haven't been able to go to college yet, due to my, diploma. But like, if you're licensed, can't you still charge them the full amount?
I can still charge them what I wanna charge them. Even if I wasn't licensed, I can charge them what I wanna charge them, cause there's people out there that don't have licenses, just charging $250
Yeah,
for you to
but
sit in their house on their floor, you know?
I asked, like, cause I heard that it was like a law to, it's like if you do hair outside of a salon, if you're not licensed, you can't charge them that much.
The
Like,
only
they can
thing,
get in trouble for
that's
that.
like a street law. It's like, people feel like, since you're not licensed, you can't charge me what the licensed shops charge me. That's just a stereotypical people thinking. It's a general rule, yeah, if you're not licensed, why would you charge me $200 and I can go to somebody that is licensed and pay $200? It's just kinda like that. But the only rule is that you can't work, the legal rule, you can't work in a salon without a license. That's what the general rule is.
Yeah.
That's what the actual law rule is, but that other one is kinda like streetwise rule, you know, like, why would
People
I pay
just
you?
won't pay you that much if
Yeah.
you're not licensed.
Yeah,
of course
exactly.
so. But I mean, that's really good, and that's something to be thinking about, like, if that's a goal of yours, what I would say is take, like, okay, is it that you need to get your GED to do that?
No, it's like, I have all of my high school credits, it's like, it's just my math test. I always fail my math test, and I need to pass that test in order to get my diploma.
You can actually go to Vogue and get your cosmetology without having a degree, without having a diploma or anything. I just happened to go to MCC and got mine. That's the only reason why I needed that.
Yeah.
But you can actually just go to Vogue and get it.
I was about to say, cause they have a lot of things where you, cause there's a lot of, I don't think they have any like that in Waco, but in different places where you can actually graduate from high school with your cosmetology license. So I don't think you have to have it, but I'd call them and find out, and it might be, cause I mean, I don't know how much math you gotta know to cut hair, so I might be like, hey, look, I got my GED, I know what I'm doing, but if is it okay if I fail my math test, you know, like, cause they may be like, yeah, it's really fine, it's not a big deal, like, you're fine, you know, so, I mean, but it's definitely worth finding out. You don't wanna, I don't know, for me, I'm like, I would always rather ask and beg and do whatever I need to do to make that happen than not do it just because I didn't know I could have, you know?
Because I went to Vogue, and they told me exactly what you just said, but like, you have to pay to get into Vogue.
They have a scholarship program, just like if you were going to real college. Like the grants and stuff, yes, they have that, baby, because my little girl wants to, actually get her cosmetology license. She's 14, and they'll take her when she's 16, you know? And so we were looking into that, and they have grants and scholarships just like a regular college. Cause she likes to do hair. So this is like my little helper when I'm doing someone's hair.
But what I would do, honestly, with that is I would call them and ask for an appointment with somebody who does their admissions process, and go sit down with them and be like, look, this is what I need, see, this is when this is great. You wear your cute clothes, you put your makeup on, you go and you sit down with them and you say, you know, I really wanna do this, I'm really great with this is really my passion, what do I need to make that happen? And then see, cause a lot of times they'll help you out, just for taking the effort to go and sit with them and talk with them. They'll give you more than that girl who just called and they said this is the tuition. You know what I mean? That's what they're gonna do on the phone, is say this is the tuition, this is what you pay, that's the end of the conversation. But when you go and you say, hey, this is really what I'm wanting to do, I've got a baby on the way, I'm trying to figure this out, I really wanna get this started, what do I need to do to make that happen? They're gonna work with you and help you out and do anything they can for you, you know?
And is every cosmetology say, like, when you're trying to get your license, is it two years long for all of them? Okay.
But that's one of those things, kind of what you were saying earlier about different stuff, it's like, it'll be hard for 2 years to balance all that, but at the end of 2 years, you're gonna be making way more money than you are doing something right now, you know? And those are those moments, you know, you really just gotta make that decision, like, this is gonna suck for 2 years, but at the end of 2 years, I'm gonna have a job, and I'm gonna be able to be independent, and I'm not gonna have to be relying on all these people.
You
to help
mean
me out,
the
you know?
license is good for 2 years? Cause the course is not 2 years, it's the license.
That's what I'm
okay.
asking, the course.
Yeah, the course is like 9 months long.
Because I heard that the course was 2 years long to get your license.
Maybe at Vogue it is, but it's
I think it depends probably on what all you're doing too, you know, cause some people get multiple license, or some people they wanna specialize in something particular, so it probably just depends. I just ask them, go up there and ask for I'd call Vogue,
I
especially
just
if you're.
go up there.
Yeah.
Like she said, you get a lot more information when you in person versus on the phone. Cause people on the phone just be like, I ain't got time. You ain't got time, I ain't got time.
Yeah,
you know?
so I'd call them and ask and see if you can get an appointment with somebody in admissions or somebody who's in charge of that. and then see if you can just meet with them. It's good to call ahead just so that they know you're coming, somebody's got time set out for you, as opposed to when you show up, a lot of times they might be busy that day. But if you say, hey, I'm gonna come at 11 o'clock on Friday, they've got an hour set aside just to talk to you, you know what I mean, and that's helpful. So I would call them and see if you can get an appointment, and then see what they can do with